Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're opening up an awards insider special, profiling the 2026 E&E Leader Awards.
Yeah, it's a really great lineup this year.
It really is. And our mission today is to uncover how the winners in the software and cloud category are solving this massive, honestly invisible problem that's just plaguing businesses right now.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we're talking about the absolute mountain of manual sustainability and compliance paperwork. It's just endless.
Endless, yeah. And we're looking specifically at three platforms today. Cority, which actually pulled off a really rare double win this year, and then 3E in Atrius.
Right, and it's probably worth establishing right away why these specific awards carry so much weight, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So the E&E Leader Awards, they're evaluated by this independent panel of heavy hitters across energy, sustainability, operations, finance. They really know their stuff.
So they're not just looking at, like, flashy marketing dashboards.
Exactly. They look past all the PR. They judge on three incredibly strict criteria. So it's measurable impact, true innovation, and enterprise scalability.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the theme connecting today's winners is just fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like every single one of these platforms takes work that used to swallow days or even, weeks of highly paid expert time, and they just hand it back in this usable automated form.
Right, which allows humans to stop doing all that mindless data entry.
Exactly. And finally focus on actual strategy. So let's begin at the ground level of corporate sustainability and safety. For anyone listening who manages a supply chain, you probably already know the agonizing reality of safety data sheets, or SDS.
Oh, man. It is the most critical, yet arguably the most tedious part of environmental health and safety. EHS.
Yeah, total.
For those outside that specific loop, every single chemical or, hazardous material coming into a commercial facility, it arrives with a supplier-provided safety data sheet.
And this isn't just a basic ingredient list, right?
No, not at all. It details these highly complex hazard classifications, composition data, specific physical properties, safe storage protocols, emergency spill responses.
It's a lot.
It's a massive amount of highly technical data.
And historically, the way EHS teams handle these sheets is, it's almost tragic.
It really is.
Picture an expert, right, sitting at a desk, opening a dense, inconsistently formatted PDF from some supplier on one monitor, and then on the other monitor, they've got their internal SAP system open, their huge enterprise resource planning software.
Yep, and they just type.
They literally just type. They manually extract and reconcile chemical data for hours every single week.
And the vulnerability there is just massive. Human beings get fatigued.
Of course.
When you're staring at hundreds of pages of complex chemical properties, typographical errors aren't just a possibility, they're basically a mathematical certainty.
And in the EHS field, a typo isn't just a spelling mistake, is it?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
A single missed decimal point on, say, a chemical's flash point, that leads to inaccurate hazard classifications in your central system.
Wow.
Yeah, which leads to incorrect safety labeling on the factory floor. And that ultimately exposes a company to massive audit failures, regulatory fines, or, much worse, physical danger to employees.
Which brings us to our first 2026 E&E Leader Award winner.
Right, 3E.
Yes, 3E, taking home the prize for their supplier SDS loader. Now, 3E has been a heavyweight in regulatory intelligence since, 1988?
Yeah, 1988. They serve over 5,000 customers worldwide, so they really understand the space.
So their solution here, it acts as an AI-driven bridge between their own 3E Protect platform and a company's SAP product compliance system.
Exactly.
It takes these unstructured supplier PDFs and automatically parses them into structured data, just on the fly, across more than 40 different languages.
And the mechanism of how it does this is really what caught the judge's attention.
Right.
It isn't just, copy-pasting text. The system automatically maps the disparate supplier data to standardized global phrases. So it ensures that no matter how a supplier phrases a specific hazard, it enters your enterprise system completely consistently.
Well, wait, I have to jump in and push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Because if we're dealing with highly dangerous chemicals, isn't it actually a massive liability to let AI do the data entry?
Oh, absolutely.
We all know AI can be overconfident, it can hallucinate. What if the AI mistakes a highly flammable solvent for something inert just because, the original PDF had weird table formatting?
That is the exact hurdle that has kept AI out of this space for years. And it's precisely why 3E won the award. They implemented this mechanism called intelligent confidence scoring.
Confidence credit scoring. So, like, the AI is essentially grading its own homework before turning it in.
Put simply, yes. The AI evaluates its own extraction accuracy before anything ever touches the SAP system.
Oh, that's smart.
Right. It essentially flags its work.
Mhm.
It'll say, I'm 99.9% certain about this hazard code, but this specific boiling point in paragraph 3. It's formatted in a way I don't recognize, so I'm isolating it for human review.
Oh, I see. So it's a triage system. The EHS professionals aren't removed from the loop at all.
Exactly. They're elevated to the top of it. They only spend their valuable time looking at the flagged exceptions rather than, proofreading every single line of a 50-page document.
And the operational impact of that shift must be huge.
It's staggering.
Yeah.
Organizations deploying the 3E supplier SDS loader have verified a 70% reduction in manual effort.
70%.
Yeah. Imagine giving your compliance team 70% of their time back. And because the system auto-validates the data against existing SAP records before loading, it just prevents errors right at the point of entry.
It's a perfect example of taking the robot out of the human.
Love that phrasing, yeah.
So, okay, we've solved the chemical data problem, but reading a safety sheet is only one flavor of bureaucratic nightmare.
Oh, don't I know it.
The other is government-issued environmental compliance permits. If you thought a chemical safety sheet was dense, try untangling a 100-page environmental permit.
They are brutally legally complex.
Heavily jargonized, packed with hyper-specific sampling and monitoring requirements that just vary wildly by jurisdiction.
And interpreting those permits has always been a painfully slow, completely manual process.
Yeah.
If you're a global enterprise managing hundreds of facilities, manual tracking doesn't just scale poorly, it becomes a structural liability.
Because if you miss something.
Exactly. Missing one subtle monitoring deadline buried on page 60 of a permit, that can lead to immediate regulatory penalties or even a total operational shutdown of a facility.
Which brings us to our rare double winner at the 2026 E&E Leader Awards.
Cority.
Yes, Cority. Their first award in the software and cloud category is for their compliance permit analysis agent. Now, Cority has been an EHS market leader for 40 years, so they understood that you can't just throw some generic off-the-shelf AI chatbot at a legal compliance document.
Right. Security and data privacy aside, generic large language models simply aren't trained on the hyper-specific nuances of global environmental regulations.
Yeah, they just don't have the background.
Right. They lack the context to understand what constitutes a legally binding compliance task versus just, standard boilerplate regulatory text.
So to solve this, Cority built a purpose-built AI directly within their Cority One platform.
Yep, utilizing what they call Cortex AI.
Cortex AI. And the magic trick here is how it functions mechanically, right? It deconstructs that complex regulatory language into structured, trackable compliance tasks in seconds.
In seconds.
And the most crucial part, no prompt engineering is required by the user whatsoever.
What's fascinating here is that removing the prompt engineering barrier is a massive leap forward. I mean, think about the friction of trying to coax a generic AI into giving you the right output.
Oh, it's exhausting. You have to craft the perfect prompt.
Test it, refine it.
Hope it doesn't hallucinate halfway through.
Exactly. But Cority embedded the use case specific architecture directly into the workflow. So you just upload the permit, and the agent instantly generates the actionable tasks.
And the sources highlight a phenomenal example of this in action. A customer had operational facilities in Germany.
Okay.
And previously, an English-speaking corporate EHS manager would have to wait for a manual third-party translation of these German language permits.
Which takes weeks.
Weeks, and it costs a fortune, all before they could even begin parsing out what their actual legal requirements were.
Wow, yeah.
But with Cority's agent, that customer gained first-time visibility into their German permits without translating a single word manually.
That's incredible.
The AI processed the native German document and instantly generated the required compliance tasks in English.
See, when you look at the ripple effect of that capability, it's just profound. When permit review drops from 3 weeks to 3 seconds, you are shifting an entire global organization from a posture of reactive scrambling to proactive risk management.
It's like having a universal translator for bureaucracy.
Exactly. And the generated tasks are automatically linked directly to internal workflows and calendars.
You aren't just saving translation fees, you're buying a time advantage. I mean, if a new regulation drops in Berlin, corporate leadership in New York knows their exact compliance exposure before they even leave the office.
That perfectly sets up Cority's second win, Because once you've automated the reading and translation of these documents, you inevitably run into the next massive hurdle of sustainability.
The math.
The math.
Yes, the absolute nightmare of carbon accounting.
For any listener out there actively working in corporate sustainability, you know this is arguably the most unforgiving challenge in modern reporting.
Oh, without a doubt.
Companies are under immense pressure from investors, from regulators, to generate perfectly accurate, auditable emissions data across their entire value chain.
And the stakes are incredibly high here. Organizations are trying to align highly fragmented data with really rigorous frameworks, like the Science-Based Targets Initiative, SBTI, and the Carbon Disclosure Project, or CDP. Okay, before we get lost in the alphabet soup, let's ground this a bit. SBTI and CDP are essentially the global gold standards for proving a company is actually reducing its carbon footprint rather than just, greenwashing.
Right, they demand real proof.
And to meet those standards, teams are literally pulling their hair out trying to gather data from hundreds of different sources in dozens of different formats.
Oh yeah, they're dumping utility bills and shipping logs into massive spreadsheets, running manual formulas, and hunting down constantly changing emissions factors.
It is a recipe for complete data chaos, which is why Cority secured their second 2026 E&E Leader Award for their next-gen emissions calculation management toolset.
Catchy name.
I know, right? But they built an enterprise-grade calculation engine that features a proprietary library of over 1 million time-stamped gas-specific emissions factors.
1 million factors. That is wild.
And that library is the secret weapon because it fundamentally eliminates the need for manual data conversions. The system already knows the exact mathematical methodology for almost any variable you feed it.
It's so efficient.
It calculates both market-based and location-based emissions simultaneously. But here's where it gets really interesting, because doing carbon accounting manually isn't just a lot of hard math.
No, it's much worse.
It's like trying to do your taxes while the government actively rewrites the tax code halfway through your calculations.
That analogy hits the nail on the head. It really does. Because regulatory bodies like the EPA in the United States or DFRI in the UK, they are constantly updating their calculation methodologies and emissions factors mid-cycle.
Just changing the rules on the fly.
Exactly. So if you're managing your carbon data in a hard-coded spreadsheet, a sudden methodology update from the EPA can break your entire workbook. You essentially have to start your math over from scratch.
But Cority's toolset is dynamic. It allows teams to self-serve these evolving requirements centrally without needing IT to rewrite the software.
Which is huge. The judges actually highlighted an infrastructure company that used Cority to maintain perfect year-over-year reporting consistency, despite mid-cycle updates from DFRI and the EPA.
How does it manage that?
Well, because Cority tracks time-stamped factors, the software always knows exactly which mathematical rule applied at what specific time.
Oh, so it keeps a historical record of the math.
Exactly. It drastically reduces reconciliation time. But, and here's the real challenge, what happens when the data simply doesn't exist?
Right, because it's not all utility bills.
Exactly. When you move beyond Scope 1 direct emissions, like the gas your company vehicles burn, and Scope 2 indirect emissions from purchased electricity, you hit Scope 3.
The dreaded Scope 3.
Yes. Scope 3 covers your entire value chain, from suppliers to product end of life.
Yeah.
And in Scope 3, there are always massive blank spots in the data.
The Cority platform addresses this by building in FARA-based gap filling for missing value chain data.
Yes.
But hold on, FARA-based gap filling. For the listener who isn't a carbon accounting nerd, how does a software model ethically guess missing carbon data without just making things up or hallucinating numbers?
There's a critical distinction. It isn't guessing, it's extrapolating.
Yeah,
using verified, scientifically defensible models based on industry averages and established reporting frameworks.
Okay.
It allows organizations to fill in the blanks using a standardized methodology rather than relying on unverified third-party estimates. It gives you a complete defensible Scope 1 through 3 emissions profile.
And the key word there is defensible. Every single calculation in Cority is traceable line by line.
Right.
The sources detail a global financial firm that used Cority's data audit dashboard to easily pass external assurance. When the auditors come knocking, you aren't just handing them a final spreadsheet number.
No, you can't just give them the final answer.
You can show them the exact formula, the exact emission factor, and the exact timestamp used to generate that specific digit.
And that level of enterprise-grade auditability is exactly why Cority took 2 awards. They're addressing the entirety of the EHS professional's workload. Using AI to deconstruct the text of permits, and a highly mature calculation engine to bulletproof the math.
It's just brilliant. So we've tackled the documents and we've bulletproofed the carbon math.
Yeah.
But how do we actually reduce the physical footprint?
That's the next step.
Right. We have to move from abstract accounting to the literal physical buildings we sit in every day. Which brings us to our final winner in the software and cloud category, Atrius and their platform, audit-ready.
So we are shifting focus here from the data you manually enter to the invisible data that is silently being generated all around you right now.
And I want to start with a staggering statistic from the awards profile.
Let's hear it.
Approximately 30% of energy used in commercial buildings is completely wasted.
Wow.
It is just gone. We are heating empty conference rooms, lighting vacant floors overnight, and running massive systems inefficiently. 30%.
The financial drain on operating costs alone is devastating, not to mention the completely unnecessary carbon emissions.
Exactly.
Now, the instinctive answer is always, well, we need smart buildings.
Sure.
And while smart systems do exist and they can theoretically reduce consumption, there's a massive catch holding the industry back.
A 90% catch, to be exact. According to the research cited in the awards, over 90% of the sensor-generated data in commercial buildings sits entirely unused.
Entirely unused.
Facilities have the smart meters, they have the sensors, but the data just vanishes into the ether because there is absolutely no centralized visibility.
And facility managers are just overwhelmed. They end up with 10 different proprietary dashboards for 10 different vendor systems.
Right. So the HVAC system doesn't talk to the lighting system,
which doesn't talk to the occupancy sensors. They are drowning in noise, basically unable to see the big picture.
So Atrius won the award for building a cloud-based platform that aggregates all of this fragmented data. It pulls from meters, sensors, building automation systems, and IoT devices into one unified hardware-agnostic dashboard.
Hardware-agnostic being the key phrase.
Well, I have to ask about the mechanics here.
Yeah.
If I'm a facility manager, does this mean I have to rip out my 20-year-old thermostats and buy brand new proprietary Atrius hardware to make this work?
Not at all.
Yeah.
And that hardware-agnostic approach is exactly why they took the win. Atrius uses standard building integration protocols like BATED alongside modern APIs.
Right.
So they just pull existing data streams that are currently trapped in those siloed vendor dashboards.
Oh, I love that. So instead of having 5 different remote controls for your TV, your soundbar, and your cable box.
Yeah, exactly.
Atrius is the universal remote that just talks to the tech you already own. You don't have to rip out wiring or replace perfectly good HVAC units. It just acts as a central brain.
It ingests the raw data your building is already producing and transforms it into actionable intelligence. It is the definition of finding hidden waste in plain sight.
And the return on investment highlighted in the sources is phenomenal. Take Weber State University, for example.
Oh, that's a great case study.
They deployed Atrius across their massive campus portfolio. By using the platform to identify specific inefficiencies, implement targeted changes, and track their baseline modeling, they verified more than $2.3 million in energy savings since 2020.
That is incredible.
$2.3 million saved purely by actually listening to the data their buildings were already generating.
And because Atrius handles the rigorous savings verification, Weber State can clearly demonstrate that ROI to their stakeholders.
Exactly. And the healthcare sector saw similar results. A Carolinas hospital system used Atrius to identify high-use sites across their network, specifically focusing on HVAC optimization.
Oh, hospitals use so much energy.
Right. And they saved roughly $500,000 in just their first year.
Wow.
But what I found particularly clever was how a North American resort organization used the platform. If you think about a ski resort, their energy use fluctuates wildly based on the season.
Oh, definitely. They burn massive amounts of energy in January, but very little in May.
Right.
And that seasonal peaking is incredibly hard to manage manually. This multi-site resort organization used Atrius to group their buildings by specific operational profiles.
Smart.
Yeah, they deployed interactive dashboards and configured automated alerts to monitor electricity and natural gas consumption, strictly during those peak seasonal operations.
So by gaining that real-time, portfolio-wide visibility, they could immediately spot anomalies. Like if a lodge drifted from its optimized baseline and started bleeding heat in the middle of the night.
They received an alert and could cut that unnecessary energy spend instantly.
It basically gives facility managers superpowers. They can see exactly where the energy is bleeding out of a portfolio of dozens of buildings, all from a single screen.
And Atrius doesn't just hand over the software and walk away either. They provide a dedicated customer success management team to help organizations interpret that aggregated data and, guide them toward their specific sustainability objectives.
It's a true partnership in operational excellence.
Absolutely.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Whether you're managing a complex global supply chain, trying to wrangle your company's Scope 3 emissions for an upcoming audit, or you're just sitting in a commercial office building wondering why the AC is blasting in an empty room. These three platforms, 3E, Cority, and Atrius, prove something vital. They prove that corporate sustainability and compliance no longer have to mean endless administrative drudgery.
We have finally crossed a technological threshold. The tools are mature enough now to carry that heavy administrative load.
Yes, and we're seeing it across the board. We're automating the translation and data entry of complex SDS documents. We're using purpose-built AI to instantly read and deconstruct legally binding compliance permits.
Yeah.
We're centralizing millions of emissions factors so the carbon math is bulletproof and auditable. And we are finally unlocking the 90% of building data that was previously just ignored.
Technology is finally freeing up human experts to do what they actually do best, which is analyze, strategize, and innovate.
Exactly.
It forces you to look at your own workspace through a totally different lens. And this raises an important question, something for you to mull over as we wrap up today's deep dive.
I love this part.
If AI and cloud computing can instantly translate German compliance permits, confidently parse complex chemical safety data, and find millions in hidden energy waste using sensors we previously ignored, what other invisible data is sitting unused in your own daily workflows right now, just waiting to be unlocked?
That is a phenomenal thought to leave on. The invisible mountain of paperwork and lost data might just be your biggest untapped goldmine. If you have questions about being a part of future segments or other partnership opportunities, reach out to a member of our team today. Links are located in the body of this session's description.